Hey everybody, welcome to the Real United States, and as promised, we are back here in this episode in the village of Hersey. Now I want to remind you again that that's Hersey, not Hershey. It's Hershey's in Pennsylvania. We've been there, and this is Hersey, Michigan. And it's in west central Michigan, and it is a village. Now village is a legal term for the organization of a municipality that has largely to do just with its size. It's a very small community, about 349 or 350 people as near as I can discern from census numbers and statistics. Obviously the census is coming up this year or next year, and so those numbers may change a little bit. About 350 people, a very, very small community, although not in the top 10 of the smallest communities in Michigan, interestingly enough. But, so the name actually comes from the first European settler who settled here. The gentleman's name was Nathan Hersey, and he came here in about 1843, yeah. So Michigan had only been a state for about 6 years, and this was still pretty rural, wilderness. All right. So Hersey was Hersey. Very hard to say that with this obturator. Hersey was a trapper, a fur trader. He trapped and skinned and tanned pelts and sold pelts. And please don't go down in the comments and tell me what a terrible thing that is. It's 1840s. All right, there aren't a lot of alternatives for warm weather gear. All right, there's cotton and linen, there's some leather, and yes, there's wool. But there are not a lot of alternatives. Fur was a popular thing. Coats and hats and boots and gloves, because if you've ever been in Michigan in the last 2 weeks of January or the first 2 weeks of February, you know it gets pretty bloody, unpleasantly cold here. So the fur trade was a big thing in the 1840s. But that's not Hersey's real claim to fame. Hersey grew up rather quickly after that, over the next, couple of decades. It was realized that this was a timber-rich area, and a fellow by the name of Blodgett, or possibly Blodgett, pronounced in French, I suppose, but I'm pretty sure it was Blodgett, came here, and he was a lumber businessman, what we would have called a lumber baron, and he made a fortune harvesting and selling timber here in the area, and is really responsible for the village, or town, if you will, at the time, of Hersey growing up. And the man made a fortune in timber, and much of which floated down the Hersey River right here behind me. And in the previous episode, I had talked about how millions of board feet had come down this river and gone on. Well, in the development of the town of Hersey, they did build a lumber yard, and they built a sawmill, and they built a flour mill, and they built a mercantile, and a lot of other things. But this river supplied not only the transportation of logs, but the power for the flour mill and the sawmill. So they were producing lumber right here in town at one time. And perhaps some of it was shipped out by rail, because what happened is when the Fair Marquette Railway was laid, there was a stop here nearby. And it may actually have been called the Flint and Fair Marquette Railway at the time, I'm not certain. But at any rate, there was a stop here, and so that people and goods could traverse in and out of Hersey. So another reason that the town began to develop. Well, again, okay, Paul, what's the big deal? It's probably happened in a lot of them. Well, yeah, it did, but I'm getting there. In 1871, there was a little fire downriver here. Maybe you had heard about it. And it burned down 3 square miles of the city of Chicago. Killed 300 people and left over 100,000 people homeless. Well, they needed to rebuild, and they needed to rebuild quickly. And in 1870s, they built with wood, large. I mean, yeah, there was stone and masonry products, but almost everything was built in wood, which is why the fire happened in the first place. But I digress. Hersey became famous for the amount of timber that it was pouring out and getting downriver to the Muskegon lumber yards to be turned into planks, wood, boards, construction lumber of all kinds. That was then a big part of rebuilding after the Chicago fire. And so in about 1872, they were producing enormous amounts of timber out of here, and it became almost legend about how productive the Hersey lumberjacks were. So that is its real claim to fame, was its integral part in rebuilding the city of Chicago in the early 1870s. And that is, well, you know, a pretty good historic claim to fame. Now today, in the town, like I said, there's only about 350 people. At the end of the lumber trade, and now this is largely an agrarian area. So there's still some churches, and it has its own post office, it has its own zip code, and there's a mercantile, and there's a gas station, you know, a few services, but not too many, that service the agricultural surrounding community. But the heyday of the timber trade is long since gone. But the river remains just this beautiful, beautiful little brook for, well, largely now for sportsmen. You know, a lot of canoeing, kayaking, tubing done, because as you can see, it's a relatively small river, and it wangles its way through the countryside. Fishing, of course. So it's mostly used by sportsmen today. The logs, not so much anymore. But that is, anyway, if you ever happen to wonder about, hey, where'd all the lumber for rebuilding Chicago after the Great Chicago Fire come from? Came from here. Came down this river. Millions of board feet of it came down this river, around that bend, and floated down. And we're going to try and do this in real time. I'm going to take you over here. And we showed you this from the other angle in the last episode. Come on, Bev, let's take a walk. And what we've got down here, folks, is the convergence of the Hersey River and the much larger Muskegon River. And that gravel bar you kind of see there in the middle of the screen, now that's, you know, has formed over millennia, where the water flowing down from the Hersey River in the spring melts, would push those stones up. Probably a lot of ice packs here when the ice breaks up in the spring, and it gets pushed up, and it pushes all that stone up, and that's where that sandbar, if you want to call it, which is actually rock, has formed out into the Muskegon River. And of course the Muskegon, as I mentioned earlier, was a huge artery for transporting logs not only from down the Hersey River, but down the Muskegon River from all the way up to Houghton Lake itself. A lot of timber trade in this area. So, beautiful day for this video. I hope you found this little history lesson, and again, how we name things. This was named for a fur trapper. I hope you found it interesting. I hope that you know, maybe makes you want to do some further research. If you got questions or comments, I'll do my best to answer them. Please leave them in the comment section down below. I love hearing from all of you. If you don't have questions or comments, you just want to say hi, that's good too. Again, I love hearing from everybody. Such a great community we have here, and I want to thank you all for your continued enthusiasm and support. If you're new here, hey, welcome. welcome to the community. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you'll consider clicking subscribe. Come along for the adventure, because we got lots more to show you. And as always, folks, well, thank you for watching.